We interrupt this program to bring you...
All right, everybody. My name is Kevin.
My name is Adam.
And I'm Julie.
And we are the Real Movie Guys. And welcome back to another episode of The Real Review, the series where we review and discuss all your favorite movies. On today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at Five Nights at Freddy's. A troubled security guard working at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. During his first night on the job, he realizes that the night shift won't be so easy to get through. Pretty soon, he will unveil what actually happened at Freddy's. Okay, guys. Huge movie, I guess, within the video game adaptation realm. Five Nights at Freddy's is a ginormous franchise that I'm going to be 100% honest with you, I know nothing about. I think I'm starting to show my age now, being like my mid-30s. I'm really starting to feel like old now when like something like, like the young people comes out, and whatever. I'm excited for it though. We did review another movie earlier this year, Willy's Wonderland, which I know was kind of like another a version, I guess you could say, of Five Nights at Freddy's, maybe a more adult version. So I guess this would be the more tame actual adaptation of the series. And not gonna lie, I have a lot of mixed feelings about this movie. I'm in a weird spot, I'm gonna tell you. I really love the practical effects that are given into this movie, and there's a lot of love. Ton of love with that, and I really, really appreciate that. I think actually some of the cinematography is actually really cool as well. Again, I think there is some love for the franchise, but what the hell happened? I feel like the rest of the movie is absolute garbage, in my opinion. I don't think the plot is really that interesting with the other characters, besides what's actually happening at Freddy Fazbear's, this whole haunted Chuck E. Cheese thing, which, again, is a great concept in and of itself, but the way they chose to adapt this movie, I really didn't have a great time with it, unfortunately. But I'm curious to see what the rest of the team thinks, so we can talk about everything. Adam, you're a huge fan of the game, so I know you've been looking forward to this. Talk to me.
All right. So I guess my first thoughts are, it was okay.
Okay.
It was not what I was expecting, but I think I got more than I was expecting.
Okay. I could see that.
But I mean, I guess my first thoughts were like, it's like something's there. I think it sets up a great story for potentially something to come.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely falls apart. I think it's like the beginning part. At first I was like, okay, this is, a little deviation from the games, but
sure,
there's a coherent story here.
Right.
I like it. But definitely towards that middle area is where it kind of just like takes a huge dive, and I'm just, whoa, what happened here?
Right, and I can definitely feel like there was a couple different directions maybe they wanted to go in, almost like they wanted to elevate the concept of this movie to some other level, but it never really kind of takes off in the way they want to. Because again, I don't think you needed to be that deep for a Five Nights at Freddy's movie, at least initially. Like maybe if you want to do something down the line, that's fine. Because the animatronics and dealing with that is kind of like the focus of the series, and that's what's really most enjoyable about this. But adding this whole other subplot, I feel like they wanted to artificially inflate the movie. Did you get that kind of vibe from this, or?
Yeah, I mean, the issue is like the story's there. There's lore that's built in these games. It's there.
Sure.
Why not build it off of that? Like the lore is, it's so deep and it's so extensive. Like that's why these are so popular, is because they've created such a fan base where, it's like you really have to dig into it. And the fact that it just, I don't know, it seems like I guess it did get overinflated, I guess, and it seems to cater to a different audience, but it still didn't seem to make the landing for me.
But yeah, it's like it's catering to another audience, but I don't know what audience that is, because I don't think it's very good, to be honest. Whatever they're trying to cater to, maybe a higher level of deep thought. I don't think it's successful at all in that regard, unfortunately.
See, it's weird because I think I just checked, like, was it last night? I think it was still at like a Rotten score was like maybe 30%, but the audience score was still up in the 80s. It was like 86%.
Yeah, and
so I don't know what audience that is, but if you ask any of the diehard Five Nights at Freddy fans, they're just like, nah, it didn't land well.
It's baffling. This movie's very baffling as far as, and I think we'll talk about that a little bit later, maybe the audience and critic score, because I think there is a discussion there. But yeah, I agree with you. Well, we'll get deeper into some stuff.
Okay.
Julie, talk to me. This is your first time spending some time at Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, I guess disappointed is the word that best fits it. I don't have really any prior knowledge for Five Nights at Freddy's. I was starting to get my hopes up because, on TikTok, it was blowing up. People were sharing clips of the movies and like bits of lore. I'm like, oh, I think this is actually going to be really good. And then I watched it and I found it to be very dull, very longer than it needed to be. Again, there's definitely glimmers of a story in there. But it's just too all over the place. There's characters that didn't need to be in there. There's plot points that were overextended. The animatronics, again, were the stars of the show. And I really would have just loved more lore because apparently like in the actual animatronic design, like has hints to what happened to the child that, died. And it's hard because, you're going into violence against children. So it's like, would more background into that have made it a little bit better? Yeah, but then it's also kind of geared towards not kids, but a lot of kids love this game. So then if it was, rated R, they're not going to be able to see it. So you're alienating part of your fan base. So I'm going to say I definitely was left wanting more. Would I watch a sequel to this? Yes.
Right.
Because I want to see what they can do with it.
Yeah, I want to start off with the first thing I think we really should talk about, because it is forefront and center here, is the animatronics, the costume, the puppet work that was created for this movie is second to none. I was blown away by what they were able to bring to life on the screen with these, because most of it is practical. And, guys know me at home. I don't shut up when it comes to practicality in a movie. And it's here. It's here in full force. And I am very impressed with what they were able to put on screen. And I shouldn't be that surprised, right? This is Jim Henson Workshop, Creature Shop Productions that did this. So when they really go at it, they go at it. And these characters feel like living, breathing creatures at times. You know what I mean? They're animatronics. They're robotic. They move just the right way. I think they did a fantastic job with that. Are they super creepy? Yeah, I mean, animatronics, I think inherently, I think we can all agree, are kind of creepy. If you've been to a Chuck E. Cheese before, just Chucky staying on that stage singing a song, he's creepy just in general, right? Just their movements are unnatural. And they do a really great job with this. I really liked a lot of the character designs. And again, I'm only familiar with, I guess that's Freddy Fazbear. I've seen that character. I've seen some of the other ones, but I really liked all their designs feel unique and special. I think Foxy was the one I liked a lot. That was probably the creepiest out of all of them. And then the Yellow Rabbit, which I don't even know if they said his name. I know Adam's probably gonna murder me, but he was like ended up being like the big bad. That one.
Oh, Springtrap.
Yeah. Do they ever say his name?
I don't think so. No.
I don't think so, but I really liked him, and especially
for the animatronics. They say Springtrap at some point.
Oh,
that's
okay.
right. They do say that. Yes,
Okay.
you're right.
They don't refer. I don't think they refer to him as Springtrap.
We'll come back to him a little bit later because I'm going to save that for a spoiler discussion towards the end. But I really liked his thing that did it, especially with what's involved with that. We'll talk about it. But again, I'm complimenting all this. I think the atmosphere is fantastic. The actual I keep calling it Five Nights at Freddy's, but the Freddy Fazbear Pizza Arcade, I think, is really cool looking. I really, really like this environment that they're able to craft. But then it sucks because at the same time, I have to go back and sit through the rest of this crappy-ass movie. I'm sorry. I know that's going to sound rough, but I really just don't think it's that interesting. And a lot of that, I think, has to do with maybe how they were trying to marry this story of Josh Hutcherson, which I already don't think he's that great of an actor. I'm going to say it. I know that's probably going to get me some flack, especially from Julie over there. Yeah, I know. Sorry. I don't think he's really that great.
We're in a Josh Hutcherson renaissance right now, so you better be careful.
I know. I need to be careful. He's fine. I really just didn't care for his performance or his situation, which again, I think is just oddly strange too, that it's about him and his sister. Which there's like this giant age gap between the two. It just seems strange. Maybe it should have just been his daughter if you were going to do something. I just feel like maybe they just said like, hey, I don't want to do a son and their daughter, so I'm just going to do a brother and his little younger sister. Just seemed random. But besides that, the whole backstory that they're trying to connect to the whole situation that's happening at Freddy's, I don't think it really works for me. Adam, I think it lost me. It actually lost me earlier on, but more than I thought it would, because at the beginning, I just really wasn't interested. I'm like, this is not what I'm looking for. Like, I know we're trying to get the character Mike Josh Hutcherson to Freddy Fazbear's. It just felt so convoluted to get him there, and then at the end of the day, tie all that together for him actually having to be there, right? Does that make sense to you? Like, it was just too much.
Yeah, it's like
couldn't he just have gone there and that could have been the end of it, and then we try to tie this whole giant-ass backstory to it that really didn't need to be connected to this whole place?
okay, if we're gonna split this up into like the story we got and what I wanted.
Right.
What I wanted was, yes, I would have figured out some other way to get him to go there to have some sort of interaction because
He just needed a job. That
yes,
could have been
that's
enough. That could have been
fine.
fine, right?
And then he starts uncovering, lore and whatnot as he's like exploring the place, and
But-
he's just
Right, but then you decide to say, hey, well, he needs to have some like tragic backstory that's somehow related to events that happened at Freddy Fazbear's. Do we need that?
I thought that it was an interesting direction.
Right.
Now, it was an interesting direction. I didn't think it was terrible at first. From what we got, I didn't think it was bad.
I could agree. Okay.
Just because of the way that they're trying to give it an actual like story, I was okay with it.
Right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Maybe I missed it. And this is going into spoilers. Is that okay?
Let's try to save off the spoilers a little bit.
All right. So is his connection to Freddy Fazbear's actually present in the restaurant or whatever? Because like they show like there's specific kids that line up to specific characters.
Oh,
But
I see what you're saying.
It's hard to explain it without doing spoilers, so I guess I can re-ask
All
this
right,
later.
so I was just gonna kind of draw the line because it's kind of just gonna happen. We'll let spoilers fly free. So if you want to not see spoilers, sorry, this isn't the review for you. We're just gonna kind of dive into it a little bit. So
Can I re-ask it then?
what Julie's asking essentially is Mike's younger brother who died and was killed by Steve Raglan, Matthew Lillard, is he one of the animatronics in the actual Freddy's pizza place?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, you would be the one. I wouldn't know.
So
Or was he
I
just
don't.
murdered?
Are we talking in the game lore? Or are we talking about?
Let's just talk in the movie. But in the movie, because in the movie it's not clear unless he's the cupcake.
That's
No,
all I could think of.
as of right now, it has not even been clearly defined. As of right now, it's only been that what's his name killed him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Matthew
Yeah, that's
Lillard
it.
That's
killed
what
him.
I
Yeah.
thought, but I was like, maybe I missed something.
No,
Yeah.
no. As of right now, you did not miss anything. At least he may be. Who knows? He could be the little
The
balloon
cupcake.
boy
Oh,
or the
balloon.
cupcake.
Oh, the balloon.
That's
Yeah,
what
I
we're
thought that was
thinking,
another
yeah.
one too. I wasn't sure.
And they had a couple of other like discarded animatronics in the shop.
Yes.
I think
But
it
as
would
of
have
right
been.
now, it's unclear.
I think it would have been more powerful if his brother was one of the animatronics, even if they created a brand new one, maybe just for. I mean, I guess that would have been too obvious for fans of it, but again, normal moviegoers probably wouldn't have had any idea. But that could have been maybe interesting to tie together. But again, regardless of that, I think this doesn't work. It's just too much. It's just there's too much thought into what should be, and is a simple concept of a guy gets a job at this pizza place. He has. It's abandoned, it's whatever. He just has to watch the monitors, make sure everything goes right, keep it like that's all you really needed. And then, like Adam said, he slowly investigates, find out what's going on, and maybe there's a bigger story to be told after that. But the fact you try to usher in this whole backstory, it drags this movie down to a point where I was just not having a good time watching it. And I was just waiting for, let's get back to the Freddy Fazbear's pizza place. Let's go back there and see what's going on. Everything outside of that is just not interesting, honestly, in this whole entire movie, and it felt me losing interest. Adam, what do you think? I know we can keep talking about it, but I think it's just very disinteresting without that. It's not character development, in my opinion. It's wasting time. It's really wasting time.
And there's so much more potential that the movie could have had. I think my biggest issue with the movie is the fact that we go from like them being these antagonists
That's a good point.
to them being these friendly things, and then all of a sudden, within the last 20 minutes of the film, they
Yeah.
become antagonists again,
Yeah, so
and it's just like
let's talk about a thing I like to call tone in a movie.
Okay.
The beginning of this, when we first meet the animatronics, they're horrifying. I think in that beginning scene when after Mike starts his job, he leaves, and his babysitter, that's a whole nother weird ass side story. His babysitter was like keeping an eye on him. Oh, we're gonna break in here and like get him fired from his. Stupid. I'm sorry. It's just really terrible, that whole thing. Anyway, the bunch of group of people breaking who are obviously fodder for these characters. I don't think even the deaths really were that interesting, except for the one, which I thought was horrific, where a girl literally gets bit in half. And I'm like, what the hell is this movie? This is insane. And nothing ever comes back to that level whatsoever within the rest of the movie. And I don't know. There's going to be a conversation, I think, among people. Did this movie need to be rated R? And I don't think it needed to be. I think you can reach a PG-13 audience well with this movie. I think there is an option to do that. I mean, they were able to split somebody in half and they got a PG-13 rating, and you just didn't show it necessarily. You showed it, but you didn't show it. You know, there's ways you can do things that can still engage a younger, I guess I should say a younger, quote unquote, PG-13 younger audience. I'm sure there's a lot younger kids watching this movie. But I feel like it never was able to capture that tone, because then suddenly, like Adam said, there's suddenly a huge tonal shift where like, oh, they're friendly. Look, they love my little sister. They want to be friends. Oh, they're murdered kids that are stuck in animatronic bodies. Oh, that's so cute. And then suddenly at the end, like, oh, we're going to be villains now. And we have to stop it. The wire reveal happens, which is one of my favorite cliches in all of movies. It's just a mess. It really is just a total mess.
The worst part of that, which brings me to my least favorite character, is Vanessa, the police officer.
Yeah, I need some.
She knows everything. And he even says it at one point. He goes, "You were letting my sister play with them," after they finally do their heel turn again. And she's like, "Oh, but like," so it just makes her motivations as a character make no sense.
Vanessa is a character I like to call that services the plot. For whatever reason, either she knows things for the plot or she doesn't know things for the plot and chooses not to act on things for the plot, for whatever they have to try and drive it forward. Why didn't she report this years ago? Because she's a police officer and could have taken care of this whole situation. Who knows? She hates her father, who's a serial killer, clearly, but she still kind of loves him, but still really hates him at the same time. Adam, is there any kind of connection to that in the games? I know we're not trying to do a comparison here, but I was wondering if they drew on something from the games for that, because I feel like that was just engineered for this movie.
Okay, I'm gonna do a little deep dive.
All right, I'm ready.
So Mike Schmidt's character,
okay,
is supposed to be, or the assumption is that he was the first security guard from the first game.
Okay.
But Vanessa, she doesn't even come into like the lore,
right,
till like, I don't know, maybe number 5.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
there is technically no connection. I as far as I know, I don't think Vanessa's related to Matthew Lillard's character
so
in the game. I don't think so. I could
He's
be
my
wrong
father.
about that. Yeah, I don't know. That might have uncovered. I don't remember, but for the most part, it's just they're taking bits and pieces
which
from
is fine.
Random areas.
Which is fine. I don't necessarily hate that, and I know fans are probably going to assault me for that, but I understand it. Adaptations are hard, and I don't think there should be a degree of separation. That's what an adaptation is. You can love the original, and then you can love this new version of something that's created. The problem is, whatever they took from the original and tried to mishmash it here and make something out of it, it doesn't work. That's what the real problem is. All these different things, all this different pacing and toning that's in this movie just kind of fall apart. And I think Vanessa is one of the bigger characters about this, because she's just very, what's the word I'm looking for? She's just kind of like over the top and bland, and just like, it's not even like a mystery. It's just a very uninteresting mystery. And then the big reveal that Matthew Lillard's my dad. Okay.
For a while, we thought she was a ghost.
Yeah, but maybe she's a ghost. I don't know. The rules are also not clearly defined in this movie. I don't know if that's something that anyone else kind of had a problem with, where like being turned into an animatronic, so your body just kind of gets like bound to the thing and you're an animatronic now. You're possessing it, I guess. Is that what's going on? Again, there's just no clear rules defined in this universe.
Which that would have been interesting to go into, like the process. It's just like their bodies are in there, and then that's it. You just have to accept it.
Instead, Mike's taking sleeping pills and falling asleep at the monitor and dreaming of kids running around in his brain on a camping trip. And then there's one kid with a hook hand running around. Gee, wouldn't that have been interesting to know what the hell happened to the kid with the hook hand? Because it looks really stupid. I'm sorry. It looks really fucking stupid because there's no context for me to understand what's going on.
I wonder if there's different rules for like the game, what they can show in games and what they can show in movies.
I think there is
different rules.
Yeah, and again,
like they can't shove a child into an animatronic and kill a child on screen, exactly.
Right, but it's okay to infer these things, I think. You don't necessarily have to show it, and you can get away. Again, I think a PG-13 rating will work with this movie. It's just it's too all over the place, and I think the way they decided to go with this plot just is really, really unsuccessful, and I'm going to bring it back to this. There's two other movies that are better Five Nights at Freddy movies than the Five Nights at Freddy's movies. And I'm going to say Willy's Wonderland, I think, is a superior Five Nights at Freddy's movie in a lot of regards. And I'm not talking about the character. I'm talking about the way they handled the subject, I think. It's very easy, straightforward. Jump in, you know what you're getting. And, there's a little bit of mystery, but it goes in a different direction. Maybe that took it more in the hard rated R route of like violence and whatnot, but this movie could have done something similar. And then there's also the Banana Splits movie, which I know that's a crazy ass movie, but that's another movie that kind of did something similar. It was kind of like a Five Nights at Freddy-esque kind of movie. And that's a lot cheaper and very low budget kind of horror, but it does it better than this. Even though we have all the glitz and glamour of the animatronics in this movie, it just doesn't have a good plot behind it, and I think it's really disappointing. I will say, though, that the one thing that this movie does do is it makes me interested in Five Nights at Freddy's. So after seeing all these characters on screen, just by their design alone, I am intrigued. I do want to know more about these characters, and will I watch more when it comes up? Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to check out, the next movie and whatnot. So I guess you got me there, right? I guess, sure, I whatever. But again, it's really disappointing to me. As I
said earlier, I think this sets up a potential, now we have the core of Five Nights at Freddy's, because at least the animatronics are back to being their evil selves.
Right.
And now we have the haunting Springtrap in his full potential.
Right.
So I think I'm much more interested now than I was earlier with what they will be able to do now.
I just think it's disappointing because what did we have to sacrifice to get to that point?
You're right.
I think that's the point. And I think it will turn off, I think, younger kids. And I think this is kind of where we're going to transition into. Actually, before we do that, Matthew Lillard's in this movie. He was the best actor in the entire movie for me. Especially Adam, you probably saw it, the little scream nod that he did when he had a knife and he kind of did the like that. Like, okay, I got you. Matthew Lillard, I think his kids are really into Five Nights at Freddy's, so this was something he was really excited to jump into, and he was having a great time, I think, with the movie, and he was definitely the best cast and the most interested, I think, in the material here. He's a great villain. He always will be. He's Matthew Lillard. So I just wanted to comment quickly on that. But going into some of the scoring that we're seeing for this movie, there is a very odd separation here between the audience and the critic score. The audience, I wonder if they're just it's a lot of younger kids that are just happy to get a Five Nights at Freddy's movie.
That's what I was going to say.
They're just happy to see the characters that they know and love in live action form.
They're just supporting this franchise that they're like, all right, it finally happened. Let's just kind of give these great scores.
Right, and I understand that. And Matthew Lillard actually came out and said he thinks that they did the best adaptation they possibly could have with this movie. And I don't necessarily feel that way. I don't think Adam feels that way as far as an adaptation, that this was the best foot forward that they could have given. What do you think?
I don't. I think, like I said earlier, it's there. There's something there. But it's just, I don't know. I think it just gets too much chaos thrown into it. There's too many layers. You could have. It's
just overcomplicated. That's really what it comes down to. It's overcomplicated. Yeah, Matthew Lillard. I'll read the exact quote. They weren't that concerned with whether other people liked the movie. The idea of hey, this isn't a movie for everyone. This is a movie for their fan base. I don't think it nailed that successfully. And I can't speak, I guess, really for the fans, but I don't think that's really what they did here. I mean, yeah, you brought to life the characters that everyone knows and love, but you put them in a very below subpar movie, in my opinion. How about you, Julie? What do you think on that? Do you think they kind of did what they had to do? Again, it's hard when we don't know the source material, I guess, to comment on that, but...
Yeah. I mean, like Adam said, they laid a foundation. How stable that foundation is. I mean, you have a fan base, like a pre-existing fan base, so they're going to come out and see these movies no matter what. But the story, I think, just really failed here, where there was so much potential. And again, I don't know much about Five Nights at Freddy's, but I know one of its like standouts is like the jump scares in the game, and there was like none in this movie. Not that I'm the biggest fan of jump scares, but I didn't find this movie to be particularly scary at all.
No, and that's kind of odd too. Usually these kind of PG-13 horror movies, they do kind of overindulge with the jump scares, and that's kind of what I was expecting here. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure what got lost in translation, but I think we're about that time. Let's put a number on this one, guys. I'm going to give Five Nights at Freddy's a 5.8 out of 10.
Little ones tell me you have a sister. She will love it here. You, however, are finished.
I love the animatronic work in this movie. I think it's second to none. If you show me this, sometimes I really thought they were CGI a lot of the times, but no, there's practicality in this movie, and the designs are fantastic. But God, man, this was a really hard movie for me to get through. I had a really hard time, and it's interesting when now this is the highest grossing horror movie of the year, when it really doesn't feel that like a great of a horror movie. I know it's for younger kids, and I know they're the ones that are going to enjoy this more, and it's kind of like a gateway horror movie. We've seen something similar again this year with the new Haunted Mansion, where I thought that was actually a superior film to this. So come at me, bro. Sorry. I think Five Nights at Freddy's, there's a lot of potential here. They have some amazing character designs with these animatronic characters. I don't know much about the lore, but Adam tells me it's there, and I believe him. I think there is something there because these characters are too unique and special, the way they're designed and the way they're made, for there not to be something more, which automatically, for me personally, brings me interest in the Five Nights at Freddy's as a franchise. But this movie's just absolutely boring. It's a slog to get through. If you have interest in it, I think there is something worth checking out just to see the animatronics. But, you know, Blumhouse did produce this, and I always have the cliche thought that, you know, every third Blumhouse movie ends up being a hit. I don't think this was one of them, guys. I'm sorry. I know it made a ton of money, and I know it has a really rabid fan base, but try to see it from this perspective. You guys could have had something so much more, and I think that's what we should be looking for. Not being happy with just seeing characters, but wanting something, wanting something fantastic for your franchise, not just accepting what's given to us. Adam, how about you? What do you think on this one?
I think I'm going to go a full point higher, and I'm going to give Five Nights at Freddy's a 6.8 out of 10. I didn't hate my time with it, but knowing what I could have had, it really disappoints me. I mean, like you said, I really enjoy the practicality, and, you know, I like all the effects that they use. It was great. I liked how haunting they were in those few scenes, you know, where the girl got bit in half. That was pretty sweet.
Right.
I would have liked more of that stuff. But I mean, overall, kind of disappointing. I am interested, though, to see what's going to happen in the future. So I'm not totally checked out yet.
Right. And then the interesting tagline, I think, for this movie is, "Can you survive Five Nights at Freddy's?" And I really don't feel like that came across in this movie. Maybe initially there was a kind of like an idea for that, but it should have been really just kind of Mike dealing with these animatronics. Maybe, again, similar to another movie that we've seen before, Willy's Wonderland, where he kind of deals with the animatronics. You don't have to kill them or anything, but, you know, deals with them, and it's kind of like on the run from them. There's a survival instinct that I think was missing from this movie. And but like Adam said, I think there is intrigue there. I am curious to see what they can do. Just because you have a bad first outing doesn't mean your second try is not going to be better, but who's to say? Julie, how about you? What do you think?
I'm going to give Five Nights at Freddy's a 6 out of 10.
Where to, little lady? What the? Oh my goodness! Not cool. Why do I always get the weirdos?
The animatronics again were stunning, and there's glimmers of a really good movie in here, but unfortunately I found it to be very boring. I am hopeful that we will get a better Five Nights at Freddy's movie in the future. Again, this is someone with not really a lot of background in the game, but I'm very curious to learn more about the characters. I would love even like more flashbacks of Freddy Fazbear's in its heyday. I also thought the set design was really cool too. Like I would have loved to go visit that set. I thought it was really cool.
That's why I said early on. I said it was just it's a beautiful. They have a lot of great atmosphere in this movie.
Yes, there's so much potential, but it just gets bogged down by poor storytelling. So hopefully the future is a little brighter.
Yeah, I think anything can kind of bounce back, and I think this movie's no exception. Now that we have, like Adam said, the first kind of roll out of the way, maybe they can see what worked and what didn't work. Again, you do have to keep in mind this does have to cater to a somewhat younger audience. I mean, PG-13, it's not a super young audience, but you have to be able to cater to an audience that's not going to be full-out gore hounds with people getting their intestines ripped out or their faces chopped up in little teddy bear mask machines. Like we can't see that, right? That's not going to be in this movie. But you can cut a girl in half. So I don't know. Maybe there's something I'm missing. But I don't know.
Hey, maybe the next one's going to be a prequel. Who knows?
It could be, and I think that would be more interesting. I think that would be.
Show us how the kids got into where they got.
I don't know. It's tough with kids, and I think that also is one of the barriers for this movie to deal with is child violence is just very, it's become more, I don't want to say acceptable, but it's shown a lot more in horror movies. I feel like lately it kind of ushered that in. The new remake of it, I think, brought that to the forefront where we're seeing them be like a little more taboo with that subject. But Five Nights at Freddy's, it's an interesting case study. I think it's something we can look at. Just because you're practical doesn't mean you have a great movie, because you got to remember, you got to have a story to back up all that great practicality and atmosphere. And Five Nights at Freddy's doesn't do that. But let us know what you think in the comments below. Are we completely wrong? Kevin, are you off your rocker? You have no idea what you're talking about? Tell me why. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why we're right. I'm really curious because, again, this is a big fan base kind of movie, so I'm interested to see what everyone has to say about this. Five Nights at Freddy's is incredibly popular, so be nice to each other in the comments below. That's kind of all I ask. But, again, I want to thank you guys all so much for joining us for this episode of The Real Review. My name's Kevin. That's Adam and Julie. We're your real movie guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. We'll catch you guys next time. If you guys like what you've seen here today, consider giving this video a like and leaving your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to stay up to date with everything Real Movie Guys related, make sure to hit that subscribe button and check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And don't forget, all you audio listeners at home, we are available on many podcasting platforms. Just search The Real Movie Guys, you should pop right up. Thank you again all so much for joining us on this episode of The Real Review. We are The Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. Catch you next time.